here's how I recreated one of the most iconic scenes from the How to Train Your Dragon movie with zero budget. Alright, so the first step is to shoot all of the shots. We don't have valleys and such, but the place just outside my home would do just right. With the help of my camerawoman, which is my sister, we got all of the shots. It's really important to have something to interact with, so I used my neighbor's goat for that. I'm just kidding, we actually used this camera bag. To make it a lot easier when working in post, I wrote down all the details of the shots like the camera focal length, aperture, frame rate, and also shot some still background clean plates for removing unwanted parts from the video. Now that we have all the shots, it's time to make Toothless. Trust me. Get ready. I'm just kidding, I did not just use someone else's model. It actually took me a lot of tries before I even got the base right. I started off from a low poly sphere, defining the overall shape first, then slowly adding the details. You should start from a low poly mesh for sculpting and only subdivide when you've gotten the most out of the current resolution. If you want to learn sculpting, the best way is to just do sculpting. Only watching videos won't help. Go ahead and try it for yourself. But please watch my video first. You won't be good in the beginning, but with practice, you will get better. I had the software PureRef where I've placed all of my reference images, which I'm looking at while sculpting. What's great about this sequence is that only the front part of Toothless body is shown. That means I can save a lot of time by only making the front part of Toothless.
Give me the loot. Might lose some battles, but winning the war. I get knocked down, I get back up, get up and go. I stay ready for more. Go to the toe till I level the score. Never gon' quit. Heard you seen some, but you never seen this. Bet on myself 8 times, no trick tricks. Give me the loot. See now we going high stakes. This ain't clickbait. This a risk take, this no mistake.
At this point, it's looking really good. What's missing are the scales and the skin details. I'm gonna do that later, but to be able to rig and animate this character, we need to have an optimized mesh with good topology. We can do that with retopology, which is just a fancy name for manually rebuilding a high poly sculpted mesh with polygons. There are add-ons that make the process of retopology faster and easier, like RetopFlow, but because this is my first time doing retopology, I decided not to use any add-ons. The main thing here is figuring out how to place the polygons and connect them. I was having a lot of fun and thinking to myself, why does everybody hate doing retopology? Until I got to the point when it got a lot more complicated, where I had to connect everything and also keeping good topology and edge flow. So after a while, I took a break from retopology and hand painted the scales using the mask brush in sculpting, inverted the mask, then using the layer brush, I made them stick out. It's very common to switch back and forth between the multiple steps rather than going straight from one point to another. Then I continued doing the retopology, and after
many unbearable hours later,
I finally finished it. It's not super good, but I'm really happy with the result. Using a multi-resolution modifier and a shrink wrap modifier, we can transfer the details from the high poly mesh to the low poly mesh. Then using some alpha brushes from the internet and some created by me, I added some details to the skin. All of this may sound very easy and simple, but I can't tell you how many issues I ran into while making all of this stuff. The skin detailing part was in a lot of hurry and I really wanted to improve it, but let's face it, I'm already running late making this video. Sculpting Toothless was the most time consuming part in this project and it nearly took me a total of 24 hours. I wonder how much time would it have taken if I sculpted the whole Toothless. After that, I unwrapped the model by placing seams and baked a displacement and a normal map that can be used to add details in the shader. I'm not really great at rigging, but I was able to create a very simple rig for animating following some tutorials from YouTube. For the eyelids closing, I made a shape key, then later realized that at the midpoint it's colliding with the eyeball, because a shape key takes the shortest path from the starting to the end position. So I spent hours creating an eyelid rig following this great tutorial, but again for some reason it did not work for me as well. Then a stupid but clever idea came to my mind. I have the shape key at mid value where it's colliding with the eye. I added a lattice object, placed it on the eyelids, reduced the U value so it's flat. Then using the lattice modifier, we can move the points around and it will deform the mesh. But we only want this to be active when the shape key is at the midpoint. So I copied the shape key value as a new driver, then pasted the driver for the lattice strength value. Right now the lattice modifier goes to full strength when the eyelid fully closes, but we don't want this, so we can right click and edit the driver. Then I created this hill type of shape, so it starts off from 0, then goes to full strength in the middle, then turns off in the end. And it surprisingly works. Now it was time to bring all the shots into Blender and animate Toothless. For this shot I used F-Spy, which calculates the camera's position and rotation based on the guiding lines you place, and then the camera can be imported into Blender. For the other shots I just eyeballed it and used the focal length that I wrote down, except for this shot. Even though it was shot on 18mm, I used a focal length of 30mm because it just felt better to me. It's not always about doing it the physically accurate way, it's about choosing the method that sells the effect better. I kept looking up to the original and the live action shots from the movies as a reference while animating. The animation on this one wasn't particularly difficult, but the main problem was that the timing was different in each of the shots. Because of that, I had to animate it like 3 times. There's a subtle detail in the animated version which I really love, and it's not present in the live action version. Right before Toothless touches Hiccup, you can see him hesitating and getting back a little. It's so minute, but it adds so much to the believability of the animation. So I tried and incorporated that into my own animation as well. To give some expressions, I created some more shape keys like squinting of the eyes and the mouth. Also quickly added some teeth because he's toothless right now. To make sure the lighting in our render matches with the original shot, you can make your own HDRI at the same spot you recorded the video, and I did attempt to make my first HDRI, but later realized that you need to buy this software called PitGui. No one really knows how to pronounce this software. Use Photoshop or a 360-degree camera, but I don't have any of these. Instead, I just use an HDRI from Polyhaven that closely resembles to the background in my scene. I also added the sunlight and a cube with the principal volume BSDF with high anisotropy to add some haze to the scene. I modeled a quick and dirty hand and animated it to roughly match the movements of my hand. Then using the indirect only feature in the outliner, I can make it create shadows but not render it. It's a subtle effect, but it'll greatly help in blending the shots together. After animating Toothless in all of the shots, I rendered out the frames in OpenEXR format so that I have more control over color grading in DaVinci Resolve. There's a really great free course by the Creative Shrimps on how to import Blender renders into DaVinci Resolve and do color grading. In the scene where I'm touching Toothless, I hand painted my hand every single frame for masking, which is so tedious and time consuming, but
this is the way.
Then I made some color corrections to my render, like changing the exposure and the white balance so that it fits better. Since I'm also wearing black, it's a great reference for me to match the render with the shot. Then I did some color grading on top of everything and recorded some noise grain using the camera, which I'm just doing by recording a gray color on my screen. Put it on top of everything and set the blending mode to linear light so that the noise appears more in the darker areas. This tiny little thing adds so much to the realism. In case you're interested, here's a list of the total time I worked on the different aspects of the project. After a whopping 89 hours of total work, here is the final result. Here's the original and my version side by side. Obviously it's not as good as the originals, but I'm really happy with the result, and I never thought that I could create something at this level. You won't ever get this feeling by just typing a prompt and getting the result in just a second.